Welcome to another episode of the Financial Armor Show. My name is Tyler Cote, your host for today, alongside my co-host, Tony Shore. How you doing today, Tony?
Well, Tyler, I have to be doing great because I'm doing a show with you. I feel honored that I'm allowed to co-host this show with you, Tyler. I've never co-hosted a show with you. I normally co-host the shows when Brad hosts,
Yeah.
but I feel honored.
Yeah.
I know Jacqueline's co-hosted with you before. I'm excited because I'm interested to hear what you bring to the show.
Yeah.
How long have you been with Cooper Financial?
So I've been with Cooper. I started, March of 2025.
Oh,
So
okay.
a little
Okay.
over a year, in between a year to a year and a half.
Yeah,
So started with them in March, and
that's
it's flown
awesome.
by. Yeah, I've been loving it. So this is my second show. My first one was with Jacqueline.
Yep.
And so trying to get on here more. I've been trying to go back and forth with Brad and
Yeah.
get me on your show. So I'm
Oh, yeah. Well,
glad to
no,
be
this is
here.
Brad. No, let's get that straight. It's Brad's show.
It is
I'm
Brad's
just
show.
I'm just along for the ride,
You're
you
right.
know.
You're right.
I'm just along for the ride. Here's the only issue with me co-hosting the show with you, Tyler, is that your last name, you said it's Cote.
It's Cote.
Yeah,
Yes.
Cote. I have one of my best friends where I'm from, Stillwater, Minnesota.
Okay.
A neighbor and a good friend is Joe Cote, and he
Okay.
spells his last name the same way,
Yeah.
but it's Cody.
Yeah.
So if
So
I mispronounce your name, I apologize. I will try to keep you separate, but when I see it written,
yeah.
it's hard for me. When I look at you, it's Cote.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, we growing up, my dad went by Cody. When my
Yep.
parents got married, it was Cody. And somewhere along the lines, the Cote name got lost. So it got lost in, generation after generation. So we were actually French and then moved to
Yeah.
Canada. So French
Sure.
Canadian,
Yep.
somewhere down the line, whether that was 4 generations or 5 generations ago, the
In the
Cote
US,
got
it
lost. Yeah.
happened. It got
Yeah. And it
Americanized.
got
Yeah.
lost. And,
Yeah.
and
You're
so
bringing it back.
we're bringing it back, and my
Awesome.
grandfather is super ecstatic about that and fired up and
Well,
happy that we're using
good.
the Cote. So
Yeah.
Cody, Cote, I go by either, but
Sure.
yeah,
Well, I like Cote, and I like the fact that you care about your family history, and I think it's neat that you do that for your grandfather too,
yeah,
and he's excited about it. So
yeah, yeah.
that's fantastic.
No,
So
so me and your friend might be related somewhere down the line.
yeah,
Distant
probably.
cousins.
Yeah, yeah. Well, probably. I mean, he's lived his whole life here in his family in Minnesota.
Okay.
So, but we have a lot of people from Canada here. We're close.
Oh yeah.
So I think his family came the same route:
Yep.
France,
Yep.
Canada, Minnesota.
And then Minnesota. Yep. And
Yeah.
then we were the same. We just, instead of Minnesota, we got dripped into Montana. So
Oh, wow.
that's where we're
Okay.
from. Yeah,
Oh,
that's where all the
okay.
family
Sure.
is. Yeah,
Sure. Well, hey, we have an important financial topic to get to today, right?
we do. Yes.
So we should jump into it for our listeners and viewers. I mean, we could talk family history all day long, and Cote versus Cody, but I love the topic you're bringing. 7 financial worries for retirees and how to overcome them.
You're right.
This is going to be good. Where do you want to start?
Well, just to preface, a lot of our clients are retired or within that, 1 to 5 year window of retiring. So when we think about this topic, I want to preface it with retirement should be, and I feel like a lot of people know this, but sometimes it gets pushed under the rug a little bit or you forget about it. But retirement should really be a time to enjoy the rewards from the years of hard work, right? You work for 20 years, 30 years. If you're working on a farm since you were 10, maybe more like 50 or 60 years, right? But you've worked so hard and you've gotten to this point. But many retirees, right, they worry about, whether their savings will last, and how unexpected expenses may affect their lifestyle. So being able to understand these concerns and being proactive instead of being reactive when it comes to the planning process, we can get ahead of all that and create a greater, give our clients greater financial confidence and peace of mind. So just to preface that, and then we can work into the first topic, which is the number one, and these aren't in any order. Just kind of looking through at some of these, it does look like it's listed, but everybody's different, and everybody's going to have a different
priority.
Worry.
They're
Different
going to
priority.
prioritize them differently, right?
They are. So these aren't in order, but in our mind, yes. So the first one, or the first worry that most retirees face, is outliving their savings, right? And the worry there, is retirees running out of money during those retirement years, especially since most of those retirees are living longer than previous generations. And there's a stat, according to the 2026 Allianz annual retirement study, it says that 67% of Americans say they worry more about outliving their money than they do about death, which is pretty crazy.
Actually dying. Yeah.
Actually,
I'm more
dying.
worried about running out of money in retirement than I am about dying in retirement.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I actually believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's very interesting. And so 67% of Americans worry more about outliving their money than they do about death. And furthermore, there's another part of that study that says the Social Security Administration notes that a 65-year-old today has a 1 in 3 chance, right? A 33% chance of living past age 90.
Wow.
Which is a pretty high percentage and pretty high stat.
Yeah. People are going to spend a third of their lives or more in retirement.
You're right.
I mean, for a lot of people. So that's a long time. What I always say, Tyler, is the good news is we're living longer. The bad news is we're living longer.
We're living longer.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah. So just crazy stats, and for each topic, we'll give some bullet points on how to overcome that. So for this topic, outliving your savings, how we can overcome that is 4 different things. Number one would be creating a realistic retirement income plan. Something that maps out and lists all of your assets. It lists what the expected return would be, what income looks like in retirement. So tying in things like Social Security or pensions, dividend income, and tying that all in to one, a one-page ledger, that shows you, hey, am I going to be okay? So that's one thing, is just creating that retirement income plan. And that's something that's going to change, year in and year out. Things come up, life happens. So I'm sure a lot of our listeners, life happens. But getting one of those and updating that, whether that be on an annual basis or maybe every 2 years, it doesn't have to be every year. But making sure that you have something like that, to give you that confidence. Number 2 would be following a sustainable withdrawal strategy. Number 3 would be diversifying your income sources. So like I brought up, you got Social Security, you may have a pension. Pensions are becoming, less and less of a thing nowadays. So Social Security, pensions, income that you might receive from your investments, and also annuities when appropriate. And then also just making sure that you're reviewing that financial plan annually. So, and a key tip for this would be, plan for a retirement that could last 20 years, 25 years, 30 years, making sure that you're not going to outlive your money. And people might be at a different phase. We might meet with somebody that's, 80 and doesn't expect to live past 90 just because of longevity within their family. So we can adjust and make some tweaks to their plan, but it's really important to make sure that that retirement from the date that you stop working will last that 25 to 30-year period.
Yeah.
So
So what I hear you saying here, Tyler, is the biggest way and how we can put aside or solve the problem of outliving our savings is by having a plan and having a withdrawal strategy, so we know we're not going to spend down our money. Had a friend once who said, "You don't want your bank account to hit zero before your blood pressure does."
I've
I
never
was
heard
like,
that one before. I like that.
yeah, like that.
That's a
And
good
that's
one.
basically what you're saying
Yeah,
is the answer is work with a trusted financial professional like
it's
yourself
true.
and the team there at Cooper Financial to get a plan in place, have different money in different areas, Social Security, your investments or your IRAs, and make sure that you're able to withdraw from the right places at the right times. You need a plan to do that. What's another worry that people have for retirement that you want to address?
Yep. So the second one is rising healthcare costs. I know this is a big one for almost everybody within
Yeah,
their retirement phase is just that worry, right?
right.
Healthcare expenses are they're increasing with age, and the sad thing is,
Well, they're increasing, period.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, health insurance
yeah.
costs and everything, it's outrageous.
The
Yeah,
whole thing. You're
yeah,
right. And so, with that rising healthcare costs, it can significantly impact your retirement savings.
yeah.
And which is super sad. And going into another key statistic here, according to the Fidelity retiree healthcare cost estimate, a 65-year-old retiring today will need an estimated 185,000, or if you're a couple, 345,000 saved after tax just to cover healthcare and medical expenses throughout retirement.
Yeah,
And that
that's
does
just for
not
your out of pocket. That's
that's just for
with
your out of pocket.
that's with Medicare
Right.
helping you. I mean,
Right.
yeah, I think this is one a lot of people underestimate is
You're
what they're
right.
going to spend out of pocket on healthcare in retirement, right?
You're right. Yep. And if you're a couple, 345,000 that you need saved
That's real
after tax.
money even to you, Tyler. That's real
Oh
money.
yeah. Oh
Even
yeah.
even to you, that's real money.
You're right. Yep. And that doesn't even include the potential cost of long-term care. So that's just taking into account healthcare
Yeah,
and medical expenses. That doesn't include long-term care, right? If you
yeah,
need, a nurse to come help or some in-home healthcare needs, that's not including that,
yeah.
which is crazy.
Yeah,
So
that's a lot of money that people are gonna spend on healthcare and retirement. So you
you're
have
right.
to have a plan, right? How do we
Yeah.
overcome this?
So way to overcome this topic, right? We got a budget specifically for healthcare expenses
Sure.
alongside, your general living costs, food, gas, housing, right? You've got a budget for that healthcare cost. Um, you've got to also understand, Medicare coverage. You've got to understand, the enrollment periods, the potential gaps when it comes to Medicare coverage. Um, and then oftentimes we coach clients to have them consider supplemental insurance, right? Like Medigap or Medicare Advantage options, if it's appropriate. And then the fourth, but probably one of the biggest ones to help overcome these future healthcare costs that retirees might face is maintaining a healthy lifestyle, and start doing some of those small little incremental habits that are going to reduce future medical costs, like eating right, exercising, getting outside, laughing, having a good time in life, just maintaining a healthy lifestyle can drastically reduce that potential cost
Yeah.
that you'll have to pay. So,
Well, there you go.
um,
That's really helpful, obviously. And
yeah.
and you guys at Cooper Financial, you have a Medicare specialist right there in-house to help people with this, right?
We do. Yeah, we're not we know enough to be dangerous when it comes to the Medicare,
Sure.
stuff, but yeah, find a professional that
Yep.
does this full time and that
Yeah.
knows, find somebody that knows what they're talking about. So any of our clients that are listening, or if you're not a client, if you have those questions or those concerns kind of looming when it comes to, Medicare coverage, feel free to reach out to our team, and we can plug you in with one of our Medicare specialists to help answer those questions that you guys
Yeah.
might have. So
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's huge. So obviously, people get confused with Medicare and things like that. I know that Brad and you and the team there at Cooper, you really work hard to help your clients, and if they need help with that, you hook them up with the specialists they need, and you make sure it's incorporated into their overall retirement income plan, right?
You're right.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep. So, and that's kind of a key tip for this one. I'm glad you brought that up. But yeah, build a dedicated, you got to build that dedicated healthcare reserve into your retirement plan. You've got to think ahead and build that into your plan, because that 1 in 3 chance, that you'll outlive your money, it's probably pretty close to, having a large amount of your assets being dwindled down from healthcare or medical costs. So making sure that that's built into the plan as well, to help cover that gap.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's huge, and, you have to have a plan for that. It has to be part of your overall financial plan for retirement and retirement income plan, and
Yeah.
that's where you come in, get a written plan. So rising healthcare costs, that's something,
Yeah.
not only retirees, that doesn't just keep them up at night. I've laid awake at
Yeah.
night going, "How expensive can healthcare possibly get?"
You're right. You're
Yeah, it
right.
is it is
Scary.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what's that was number 2. What's the next
Yeah.
thing? What's the next worry or concern that people have?
So the third one would be inflation eroding purchasing power. That's kind of the title of this is inflation, right? Even moderate inflation can drastically reduce the purchasing power of the money that you've saved over time, which makes everyday expenses like groceries, gas, housing. It makes it far more costly over a 20 to 30-year span. And then the key statistic studied this one, which is pretty interesting. When we look at just a modest, let's see, average annual inflation rate of 3%, so just saying the inflation rate is at 3%, your purchasing power drops by roughly 25% in just 10 years and is nearly cut in half in 20 years. So if you're not doing the right things when it comes to protecting against inflation, let's say you have 500,000 at retirement, 20 years into retirement, that 500,000 is really going to be about 250,000. So what 500,000 feels like today is going to be equivalent to what $250,000 feels like in today's dollars,
Wow.
which is pretty interesting.
I think that it's really important I mean, this is a hot topic,
Oh yeah,
obviously, right now. Inflation, rising healthcare costs, gas, everything's gone up.
you're right.
So people are really paying attention to that, but especially
Yep,
if you're on a fixed income or you're in retirement, no matter how much,
exactly.
no matter how little or how much you have, you're always on a fixed income in retirement. I
You're
mean,
right. You're right.
basically. So
Basically,
so
yep.
when things go up, I mean, I notice it's one thing I notice, not that I'm aging or getting older, but,
Oh,
as I get older, I'm like, 15 years, this has doubled in the last
yeah,
10 years in price. When something doubles in price in 10 years, that's when I sit up and take notice. I'm like, "I'm paying
yeah,
twice as much for this as I did just 10 years ago." It's
yeah.
crazy.
You're right. Yeah. So Yeah, it's crazy, but good thing, there's ways that you can go about, setting yourself up correctly and being able to overcome that worry. And that would be, keeping, not everything, and we see this a lot. There's a lot of potential clients that come in that have a lot of money or almost their entire portfolio in long-term growth assets, right? Like equities. Um, but how to overcome this worry is keeping just a portion, right? You don't got to keep everything in equities and have everything be aggressive. Once
Sure.
you hit that and everybody's different. Again, we might meet with somebody that's retired or 5 years into retirement, and they're still very aggressive because that's their risk score. They're okay with taking that much risk. But for the majority of people, keeping a portion of investments allocated for long-term growth, right? Like equities is something to help overcome that. Number two would be reviewing your spending regularly, doing a budget, maybe,
Yeah.
once a month or once a quarter, once every 6 months, once a year, review your spending. Because when my wife and I do that, we figure out real quick that we're spending way too much money on things that aren't aligned with where we want to be when we retire, which is really
Same.
interesting. Yeah,
Same.
yeah.
When
Eating
my wife,
out. Oh my gosh.
yeah, if we once a month sit down and look at what we're spending things on, it actually helps us sleep better at night. Nobody
You're
wants
right.
to do it. Everybody puts it off.
Yeah,
Nobody likes the dirty word, the B word budget.
yeah.
But I'll tell you what, yeah, yeah, review your spending regularly. You're
You're
right.
right. Yeah, yeah, feels good. So doing that,
Mhm.
considering also just income strategies that are designed to, increase over time, right? Dividend growth stocks, or maybe inflation index products as well, will help overcome that. And this is something that we see quite often when we bring new people in is they have a large amount of their liquid net worth within low yielding accounts, right? So trying to avoid keeping an excessive liquid asset, right, like cash, in low yield accounts, right, like a savings account. So that's one thing that we can help clients with is, hey, have an emergency fund, and if something comes up, we want to make sure that you have liquid assets to be able to pay for something on the spot, but don't have an excess amount, that's earning you, maybe 0.01%,
Yeah.
on whatever you might have within a savings account.
Yeah.
So just something to keep an eye on. Yeah.
Sure.
Uh,
So what's the next thing we want to talk about here?
so next thing, and this is you're seeing this a lot, even with me being in the industry, I'm seeing a lot of this on the news, and I get Facebook ads and YouTube ads on this is market volatility.
Yeah.
We've seen that a lot, even just this year, last year, 2021, 2022, we saw a lot of that, and
Ups
the
and
work
downs in the
ups and
market.
downs. Yep, yep, ups and downs. Which if you're approaching retirement or within that first year of retirement, that can really, a sharp market downturn can really erode, how much you've saved, maybe
Yeah.
forcing you to have to go back to work or take a second look at, can I retire, right,
Yeah.
and live comfortably.
How do we
Um,
overcome market volatility?
so market volatility, how to overcome that would be maintaining a diversified portfolio that's aligned with your current phase of life, right? So again, trying to review that, once a year, at least once a year to make sure that that's still aligned with what you're looking to accomplish. Um, Another point is trying to avoid the emotional investment decisions made during market declines. So, and kind of a fun stat to go with that, I read somewhere it said that 57% of retirees report feeling significant anxiety when their accounts suffer market loss, and nearly one in three of those people make costly mistakes like withdrawing their money or moving stuff to cash, right? Because,
They get emotional.
they get emotional, right?
Yeah.
And locking in that paper loss from just getting emotional, and that's okay. Even myself, I find myself being like, oh, the market went down a little bit, but when you're in those retirement years, it becomes far more, prevalent to have those thoughts and thinking, oh my gosh, am I going to survive? Am I going to have to go back to work? So avoid those emotional investment decisions during those market downturns. And then, like I said, on the third point, keep a keep short-term spending needs, 6 months, 1 year, 3 years, in cash or conservative investments.
Yeah.
Keep it somewhere that it's earning a little bit more, but you definitely want some cash on the sidelines, to help weather those storms. And then the fourth point on this would be, just working with a financial professional or team to align your risk level, your risk tolerance, with your actual goals in retirement. So really, focusing on the long-term strategy and the long-term goal versus being, more tied to those short-term market movements and getting, a little emotional around that time when things aren't going too well in the world.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it makes sense. So, what's number 5 on the list?
So number 5 is the fifth thing that retirees worry most about is unexpected emergencies and major expenses, right? And the worry here is, right, you've got, and I'm not sure if you've dealt with this, Tony. I know I have, home repairs.
Oh yeah.
Major vehicle issues.
Yeah.
You've got family emergencies or
We all
unexpected.
deal with those
Yeah,
things. Yeah.
all the time. Yeah,
Oh, I need a new
and
roof
it,
or yeah, the garage door has to be replaced or
something always
I need
when
car
life is
breaks
going
down.
good. Yeah, when life is going good, something always seems to
Happens.
happen in my
Yep.
life. Yeah. So, but those large expenditures, those can quickly strain and erode your retirement assets if they're not planned correctly.
Yeah, and you don't
Um,
wanna pull out of your retirement funds for those, if you
right.
don't have to.
If
So
you don't have to.
how do you overcome it? What are some of the ways?
So being able to overcome that. So again, maintaining an emergency fund,
Yep,
right? 6 months to a year of living expenses, in a liquid savings account or high yield savings account. Regularly inspecting and maintaining your home, and vehicles and making sure that they're working properly, to help mitigate some of those future issues, that might come up. Um, Also reviewing your insurance coverage annually to ensure that what you have is adequate, you know, and we coach clients to do that once a year. Shop around. If you're getting insurance and you're just setting it and forgetting it, you might be missing out on some potential, things that could really save, when it comes to a car or a house
sure.
or any issues that might come up.
Yeah,
And then, something that we see a lot is relying solely on credit cards for
mm,
emergencies. There's a lot of people that do that, which, if you're in a pickle and you gotta, and you really need to, that's okay. But, if you have a emergency fund of 6 to 12 months, it's going to allow you to not have to rely solely on credit cards for
yeah, because you
emergencies
can spiral in debt pretty fast at
very quickly.
30%,
Yeah.
30% interest on some of those credit cards.
Exactly. And it just gives, I mean, if you've got 6 to 12 months of cash saved up, just again, going back to that peace of mind, it gives our clients peace of mind knowing that they've got an emergency fund if something comes up that they can go dip into as
Yeah.
well. So
Well, and, these are all things that, hey, once you get them taken care of, it can really give you peace of mind. It can help you sleep well at night. What's the next worry on the list that, retirees and pre-retirees might have to think about?
So the next worry, and I haven't personally dealt with this in my family. I have a couple extended family members that this has happened to. Tony, I know have firsthand
Oh,
experience with
yeah,
this, and you have some family
definitely.
members that have struggled with this. But long-term care needs,
Yeah.
right? Many retirees, right? They underestimate the potential cost of long-term care services, right? Including, assisted living, home health aides, nursing care.
Yeah.
And just to go at that, I was doing a little bit of math. When I read a study, roughly 70% of 65-year-olds will require at some point some form of long-term care in their remaining years,
Almost
right?
2 out of every 3
You're right.
retirees will need some form of long-term care, and that number keeps
Yep.
going up. And you
Yep.
talked about cost. I'll give you an idea of the cost. My mother, who has really bad late-stage Parkinson's,
Oh,
pretty much
wow.
can't do anything anymore on her own.
Right.
It's $11,000 a month.
Yeah.
That's per month, and
Per
my
month.
dad is now in long-term care also with Parkinson's.
Wow.
His is 7,900 a month because he has some mobility left, but, I mean, you
Yeah.
add that up, nobody has I mean, I don't
No.
care how wealthy you are, you're gonna spend down pretty
Yeah.
quick.
You're right.
So and
Yep.
Medicare does not cover long-term care, found
Right.
that out, and Medicaid will only cover it, depending on your state, you have to pretty much be completely desolate. You can't
You're right.
own, property and accounts. So,
You're
yeah,
right.
that's a tough one. You need a plan in place. So, how
It's
how
tough.
do you, how do you help your clients and people overcome it? What are some ways?
So being able to overcome that, right, is just being proactive and discussing the potential, care preferences, with your family members early on. Have those difficult conversations early on. Let people know what you want to happen if you were to go into assisted living care, or if they needed to make decisions for you. So making sure that you discuss those early on.
Yeah.
Number two would be exploring long-term care insurance, or like a hybrid life insurance or long-term care
Yeah.
insurance policies.
There are a lot of great hybrid policies now
There
where
are.
it's
Yep.
not like you don't have to put the money into the policy and then just lose it if you don't
Right.
use it.
And
There's
there's
hybrid policies now that are pretty good.
Yep, yeah, and there was a potential client. He had a long-term care policy that he bought back in 2008 or 2009.
Mhm.
Really, really great policy. That had all of these benefits, inflation protection riders on there. It was just a really, really good. They used to do really good long-term care policies. Those are harder to come by nowadays. You got to be paying a lot out of pocket for those
Oh, yeah.
individual long-term care policies. But yeah, there, like what you said, there are hybrid, policies that would help cover, the
Sure.
costs if you need them. So,
Yeah.
and yep, so that'd be point number two. Point number three, right? You got to consider incorporating the care expenses, or, the self-funding strategies into your retirement plan, right? So just like, planning for future healthcare, you got to work in and uh, import those potential long-term care costs into your plan, because those can quickly, again, like what you said, that's what, 11,000 a month. That can erode a retirement plan in 3 years,
Yeah.
right? 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And then just reviewing available community and support resources. We have a lot of really great people great companies that we refer clients to that can help with, their transition specialists. So they help with if you're coming up on, or at least want to look into, long-term care options. We
Mhm.
we have people that we can plug in. So just again, doing that research ahead and trying to find a community, or a support partner or company to help you find those resources to map out what that would look like for you. So yep. So that's point number six.
All
No,
right. Now,
yep.
number 7, the final point. What is it?
Final point. So number seven,
Number 7, yes.
that most people, most retirees worry about is leaving a financial burden on their family, right? So most retirees, they're concerned about becoming financially dependent on loved ones,
Mm,
or leaving behind an unorganized financial complications to their heirs. We've
yeah.
seen this. We've had potential clients come in, and It's very messy,
Sure.
but there are ways to overcome it. And the first one would be to create or regularly update your estate planning documents, right?
Yeah.
Your wills, your living wills, your trusts, your beneficiary designations. Making sure that you create or update those is very important. Number two would be just organizing your financial accounts and records, passwords to your accounts, account information, right? Being able to put that into one centralized location. And again, having those conversations early with somebody that you
Yes.
trust and that you care about, and let them know, hey, if something happens to me, this is the team to call. This is where my passwords are. Here's everything you need to know. And again, it goes back to that. Once you do that, that lifts a big weight off your shoulders, and it can allow you to actually enjoy retirement even more. So making sure that you just organize everything, get everything in place, even if you're young, even if you're in your 30s, 40s, and 50s, you
You're
want to make
never
sure
too young to
never too young.
to do
You're
this.
right.
Yeah.
Yep. And then, I brought this up, communicate your financial and legacy wishes clearly with
Yep.
family members, being proactive about that. And then last but not least, establishing powers of attorney, right?
Yeah.
Like, financial powers of attorney, healthcare directives, and again, going back to, updating that on a regular basis. We found Brad and our, attorney, we've found that a lot of those POAs that are 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years old, if you're not updating those and you need to use those, there's a lot of financial institutions that aren't actually taking those. So if you're in crunch time and you've got to make
And
decisions,
it's like 6 years old, they might say, "Oh, this hasn't been
yeah,
updated recently
right,
enough." Yeah.
right. Hey, we need you to add this specific sentence in there
Yeah.
for what we're looking to do. So updating those regularly, and getting an audit and sending those POAs to your, financial institutions like Wells
Yeah.
Fargo or,
It's
or
huge.
Schwab, right? And making sure that they're checking to see if those POAs are something that they would actually take. So
Yeah.
I know we're coming up on an end,
Yep.
but those are the top 7
Nice.
risks, that retirements face. And financial worries in retirement, right? They're common, but they don't have to define your retirement years, right? By proactively planning for longevity, healthcare costs, inflation, market fluctuations, emergency funds, long-term care, estate planning. If you can proactively work on those, and little by little, once a week, once a month, every step counts, right? That can lead you to greater confidence, and it's going to allow you to actually enjoy the retirement that you've worked, so hard to build. And we say this a lot. Brad says this a lot. The goal isn't to just retire. It's to retire with peace of mind and knowing that you have a strategy and plan for whatever might come your way.
Yeah.
So
I like that. You want peace of mind. It's like the SWAN plan, SWAN, sleep well at night plan,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
That's what we want, and that's what you went
yeah,
over. All 7 of those legitimate worries and concerns for retirees, and ways to go about dealing with them and having a plan in place so you don't have to worry about those things. Great show today, Tyler. You really brought it. I think it's awesome. Now, before we go, let our listeners know how they can get a hold of you and the team there at Cooper if they have questions or want to set up a no charge, no obligation consultation.
yeah. So you guys can go to our website, cooperfinancial.com. There's so many resources on there for you guys to just go and learn more about what we do. There's a link to our podcast, books, and just resources to help you feel more confident. If you want to set up, consultation with either Brad, Jose, or one of our advisors, you can call our office 480-269-9444. or you can fill out a form on our website that will let us know that you want to, schedule out a time to meet. So thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate your time today.
Yeah, no problem. Appreciate you, Tyler, and all the great wisdom you brought. Listeners, that does it for today's episode of the Financial Armor Show with our host, Tyler Cote.